Hello, everyone, and good afternoon on this lovely Friday. This is Andrew Fingerman. I'm the CEO of PhotoShelter, and it's 4 p.m. here in New York. We are rapidly approaching happy hour, and I hope wherever you are, you're doing the same. I might just be opening up a beer in a few minutes, and I encourage you to do so as well. I also hope that you're ready for the next hour because it's going to be very special. Zack Arias is uncommon. And anytime that I've ever had to spend with Zack, and anytime I've had an opportunity to listen to him speak, I've walked away feeling like I've been given a gift. And I think you'll feel the same way too at the end of today's talk. Zack is super cool because he's so open and so honest and so generous with the time that he spends both as a educator and as a teacher and speaker. Which is why I was floored when he agreed to become part of our Jumpstart campaign. And for those of you who don't know what Jumpstart is, and it's up on your screen right now, you can find out more information at photoshelter.com/jumpstart. But it's a chance for one lucky PhotoShelter member to win a Dream Team advisory board filled with respected industry professionals and consultants and pros who can be your advisory board and help you get 2013 kicked off to a great start. We also have a $2,000 gift certificate from Calumet Camera, as well as a Canon 6D. So it's a nice, chunky, meaningful set of prizes that one PhotoShelter winner will ultimately walk away with to help rock 2013. So in conjunction with that contest, Zack has agreed to share this webinar with us today, which we're really excited about because it's really a chance for all of us to win just a little bit. So before we get started, just a little bit of housekeeping. So we will be recording today's presentation, and on Monday it'll be available on the PhotoShelter blog. And also, you'll notice in the GoToWebinar module in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen, there is a opportunity for chat and questions and answers. And Lauren from our team is going to be manning that. And depending on how much time we have at the end, if there's still some time left, we'll be able to serve up a few of those questions to Zack, and he's agreed to spend time answering them. So before I blather on, I don't want to keep you from Zack, and I'm going to turn it over to Zack Arias.
All right, I'm here. Can you hear me, Andrew?
Yes, I can.
All right, excellent. Well, thank you so much for having me on today. Um, yeah, the title of the talk today is "If I Had to Start Today," and it's basically if I had to completely start over from ground zero, what I would be focusing on, what would be important to me, what wouldn't be important to me. And if you were recently at Imaging USA, then you may have heard me give this talk. So you can go ahead, log out, go enjoy your afternoon, and not have to listen to me blabber on for an hour. But I have already opened a beer, Andrew. So I am well on my way to happy hour. And so the end of this webinar may be better than the beginning of it. And just a disclaimer and housekeeping note for me, I'm speaking to my computer screen at the moment. And so it's kind of an odd presentation for me to do personally, but we're going to get at it. Here we go. All right. So if I had to start today, I've been pursuing photography now for about 16 years, and that's including, okay, I need to do something with my life. I'm going to be a photographer. Then I went to photography school, graduated from photography school, assisted other photographers, managed a studio for a while, went out on my own, failed miserably, lost all of it, had to get a day job, worked that day job for about 2 years, and then a camera was put in my hands again by a dear friend of mine named Mark Climby. He set me loose at a wedding to second shoot weddings with him. I quit my job the next week after shooting my first wedding and had to start over again. And one thing that got me in a lot of trouble was I went heavily into debt chasing photography. And the second time around, which will be 10 years this October, when I quit my day job and said, I'm going to try again. I didn't go into debt. So this is very much business oriented. There's not going to be any talk about lighting or apertures and shutter speeds. I will talk a little bit about camera equipment, but this is primarily focused on business and business only. And Andrew, I just want to invite you that if at any time I say something and you feel you kind of have a question or you want to jump in on something, please feel free to do so. So it's not me for 45 minutes looking at an air conditioning vent. All right, so a disclaimer for the trolls. I just recently got trolled on the internet on a forum, and I'm okay when trolls hit me, but they started hitting my friends, and then I got sucked into it, and I shouldn't have. But we made T-shirts, and it was fun. So the things I'm going to be talking about today are not necessarily stuff that you would walk into a bank with and ask for a business loan, because maybe my advice isn't the best. It is by no means the only advice out there in the world. I'm going to say things that may contradict other things that you've heard in your life. Um, and that can be up for discussion as we come near the end of this presentation. That if you want to talk about something I've said, that's fine. I'm open book. And I'll talk about gear a little bit, and I know gearheads will probably disagree with me on certain things, and I frankly I don't care. This is just me personally. Excuse me. If I had to start today, the number one thing I would do if I woke up tomorrow morning and said, okay, I'm starting a new business right from the start, the very, very first thing would be hire an accountant. I went for the first 2 or 3 years without an accountant in my life because I kind of thought I couldn't afford an accountant. And then I got into tax problems and I got behind on things with the government, and it actually cost me money to not have an accountant. And I've learned that this is a business. We love pictures, we love photography, we can sit and talk about, juxtaposition and lighting and stuff all day long and just pour over the images. And honest to God, the most important thing to me in my business is, the images I make. That's what gets me excited. Running a business does not get me excited at all. I hate the running of the business part, which is unfortunately the majority of my life is running the business part if I'm going to do this and feed my wife and our 4 kids and all of that. So, very first thing, hire an accountant. If you're thinking about becoming a photographer, even if it's part time, even if you're going to be the weekend warrior or whatever, if you're going to be doing this for money and you want to legitimately put your shingle out there into the world, you have to have an account. All right, it's just first thing before you buy a lens, hire an accountant. Number two, if you're going to get started, if you kidnapped me and dropped me off in some random city, uh, and I had to go start, I would slash my expenses. One thing that helped me out 10 years ago was I was living in a crappy apartment. I was driving a crappy car. I had a Nikon D100 that my friend Mark had given me. I had to work 6 weddings to pay that off. And then I just used very, very, very basic equipment. I didn't go out and go crazy on lighting, or lenses or anything like that. I didn't hang out at Starbucks. If I went to a coffee shop to meet a client, I bought a small coffee. I did not buy a latte, that kind of thing. Like every single dollar counted at the beginning there. And so I would slash expenses. I'd get rid of cable. If you go out and have drinks with your friends a few nights a week, you may need to cut that out to one night every other week. You need to drive a cheap, crappy car. When I opened my first studio, after about 2 years of being in business as a photographer, I opened my first studio, and I was getting to the point where my car was about to fall apart, and I could either take on a car payment or I could take on a studio payment. And the thing I realized was the studio would help make me money for the work I was doing, and a car was only going to cost me money. So I took on the monthly lease of the studio, which was a tiny little 400 square foot space that I got for $400 a month, dollar a square foot, and instead of taking on a car payment. And I allowed that studio to help build my business for another 2 years before I finally replaced my dying, aging piece of crap car. But I replaced it with a used car, and it's a used car I still drive today. It's a daily car. It's paid off, and I still keep my expenses as low as I can. All right. Next up. All right. I've probably lost about 90% of you already, and I'm going to go ahead and just lose the rest of you now. Know your numbers. It's boring. It's horrible. Um, I'd rather, jump off a bridge some days than doing financial stuff of calculating what it costs me to do business. But basically, you'll hear this if you've sat in any business class or read any business websites. It's your cost of doing business. And you need to know these numbers. You have to know these numbers. And if you're like me and you'd rather stick your head in the sand and avoid it, you have to get your head out of the sand and run your numbers. How much is your rent? How much are your utilities, your phone bill, your internet? How much do you spend on food? How much do you spend on gas and car and insurance and clothing? And you might want to put $1 away for retirement at some point. Um, how much money does it cost you to live on this earth every month? You have to know that number. And I'm saying this to myself. My wife and I have a financial date on Saturday where we're sitting down and running our numbers, and I don't want to do it. I avoid it. But you have to know your numbers. And this will come up later as we start talking. But what I want you to do, you can Google cost of doing business calculator. There's several good ones out there online that are free. You go in and you plug in all your numbers, and some of them are specifically geared for photographers so that you can start to break down to help you figure out your pricing as you go along. If you are going out into the world as a photographer and you're doing this for money, and you don't have an accountant and you don't know your numbers, then you are so likely to fail. Everything is stacked against you. If you can get an accountant and you can know your numbers, then the odds are getting better for you to succeed in actually doing this as a business. All right, gear. This will be kind of the one spot where I talk about gear. Gear is awesome. It's great. It's amazing. We all want. I was just on B&H's website today looking at that stupid 5D Mark III. And, I have gear lust and I want it, and it's three something $1,000. And do I need it? No, no, I'm going to keep going with what I've got right now. If I had to get started today, right now, this would be probably what I would start with. I'd start with a Canon 5D Mark I. All right, the first one. And looking around online, they can be had for about $600. You've got to remember when the 5D Mark I came out, it was such an amazing camera. It had Nikon shooters jumping off their ship and into Canon. Like, that full frame sensor is absolutely beautiful. It's 12 megapixels. That's totally enough megapixels to do pretty much anything you need to do for standard day-to-day shooting. You can do magazine assignments with 12 megapixels. You can print large prints with 12 megapixels. You can do a lot with 12 megapixels. And when that camera came out, it was amazing. It was fantastic. It was beautiful. It was a game changer. It's just a gorgeous camera. Well, now that the 5D Mark III is out, we tend to look at that older camera and go, oh, it's a piece of crap. It's junk. Nobody would want it. And well, for $600, you can pick up an amazing camera. I would get a 35 millimeter f2 lens, and these are used prices, and I'd get an 85 millimeter 1.8. I'd have something that's a little bit on the wide angle side and a little something on the telephoto side. And I'd buy a 5-in-1 reflector, one of those that's kind of silver on one side, gold on one side. It's a translucent scrim. It's white, it's black. Pops open about 45 or 60-inch size. I'd buy a light stand that I could clamp that reflector to. You need something to help modify your light. You don't have to jump straight into lighting or anything like that. You need some memory cards and a few extra batteries, a few miscellaneous things. And let's say we're starting from zero. You need a computer. I would go buy a used Macintosh, like a MacBook Pro. I'd buy a used one, or I'd buy a used iMac for about $1,000. Notice I'd be spending more money on my computer than I would be on my camera body, because where are you going to spend more of your time? On your computer. All right. If you're going to be a working photographer, you will spend far more time sitting in front of your computer than in front of your camera or behind your camera. Um, so always have a better computer than camera is one thing I have to say. So loosely, looking around KEH and eBay and Craigslist and all of that, I could put this whole kit together for $2,400. If I decided I'm going to shoot weddings, I'll talk about that in a minute, then I would buy two Canon 5D Mark Ones. That way I have a backup body in case, if you're shooting event-based things, if you're shooting any kind of photography that cannot be rescheduled, like a wedding, then you need to have two. All right. So that would be my kit. That would be my, start over from nothing. A little bit of a wide angle, a little bit of a telephoto, both of them nice, fast lenses, reflector, a light stand to clamp that reflector to it when needed, and, a decent computer, and I'm good to go. All right, $2,400. And $2,400, that's darn near $1,000 less than one new Canon 5D Mark III. And the problem that's going to happen is you're getting into photography. The more you get into it, the more you're going to get bad case of gas. I call it the gear acquisition syndrome. And you're going to want that 85 millimeter 1.2 lens. That's what, $2,000, $2,400 something. You're going to want this lens. You're going to want that camera body. You're going to want these lights. You're going to want this stuff. Suddenly, your gear lust is $10,000, $20,000, $30,000. And in order to pay for that much gear, you have to have a lot of money coming in. And you could go put it on credit cards, you could go get a loan somewhere, but now you have a debt hanging over your head. And what happened to me is I did it on debt first. That debt of about 20 something thousand dollars was hanging over my head. And then it all failed. It all fell apart on me. And I was selling equipment to just live life. Like, I'm short on rent, so I'd have to sell a lens. I'm selling gear that I still owe money on. And then the interest rate was jacking up, and then I got behind on credit card payments, and it took me years and years and years to dig out from that mess. And I was paying off credit cards for gear I no longer owned. And the gear was gone, the money was gone, but the debt was always there. And you don't want that. You need to avoid debt. If you have a credit card right now and you've been eyeing something on B&H's site or whoever's website, and you're like, oh, I need that thing, and we'll put it on my credit card, it's just going to add to my monthly expense a little bit. Stop. Just stop what you're doing. You need a decent good camera. You need a couple decent good lenses, maybe a decent lighting kit, and that's it. And if you can't get the job done with that, then you can't get the job done, because the gear is never ever going to make you a better photographer. It's never going to bring you better clients. It's not going to be a part of your marketing pieces, because as you go out into the world, you need to be marketing the work that you make and not the stuff that you make it with. If you hire a contractor to build a deck on your house, how many of you go out into the world and you want to look at what tools they own first before you look at the work they create, right? We can all go out and buy great tools. Doesn't mean we can build a deck. You can have the best cameras in the world. and you can put all your confidence in those tools, but you might still be a horrible, shitty photographer. Sorry, I'll try not to cuss too much. Um, you can be a great, amazing photographer with like mediocre tools. All right. So I would build a basic WordPress site. And basically, my blog would be my website. I would find a decent website template, something simple, simple, simple. I wouldn't put thousands of dollars into creating a custom website. I would find a template of something that I could live with, um, and I would keep it really nice and simple. I would want a gallery of my work and a blog, and an about page, and how to contact me, and that's it. All right, I'm not going to look for any flashy whiz bang stuff anywhere. Basic, basic, basic. And WordPress is simple. There's lots of free utilities, free training, free all sorts of free stuff out there to get a basic WordPress site up and running. And so I would do that. I would get basic business cards. All right. My business cards would be like John Smith, photographer, Atlanta, Georgia, phone number, and email. And make sure that your email is at your domain. All right. There are some things I see people like fall into traps all the time. Number one is they don't put their location on their website. You go to their website, it has a contact page, email, and maybe a phone number, but I don't know all the area codes. And so many people are moving from one spot of the country to another spot of the country, but keeping their old phone number. So you might have someone who moved from Dallas, Texas, and they've moved to Virginia, but they still have their Dallas phone number. Um, and nowhere on the website does it say based in Virginia or based in Dallas, Texas, or based in Seattle. Um, so put your location, put your phone number, and then make sure that your email is at your domain. All right. Maybe you run all your email through Gmail, but don't have like johnsmithphoto.com and then johnsmithphoto@gmail.com. You want to be professional on all forms and all fronts. And I would just get like really cheap $12 Kinko's business cards, just a decent stock and black text. John Smith, photographer, Atlanta, Georgia. Simple, simple, simple. You don't have to like go get a photo on your business card and do all of that. I'm talking about bare bones, getting out there, networking, marketing your work. You don't have to have thousands of dollars into this stuff. All right. Um, the next thing that I would do is I would find my niche. I would research, 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 research. So you kidnap me, you dump me in some other city. I wake up the next day, I pull the bag off my head. Um, I gather basic, gear and get a basic website and get a basic business card. Now I have to figure out, okay, what am I doing? What am I shooting? And maybe you need to figure this out before you do all the rest, but either way, find your niche. Now, there's a lot of discussion of should you be a generalist and just kind of shoot anything. You shoot weddings and seniors and corporate and commercial and fashion and on and on and on, right? You can shoot products, you can shoot music, you can shoot food, you can shoot landscapes, you like fine art, you like headshots, you like advertising. Um, there's a lot of things out there to go do as a working photographer, and a lot of traps that new and emerging photographers start with is they try to go do everything, and sometimes they're not quite sure yet what they want to do. Well, maybe I want to do editorial. I like shooting bands, but I want to like hang out on Model Mayhem and shoot girls, but I want to do weddings because I hear there's money there, and I'd like to do senior portraits, and you're taking this shotgun blast sort of approach to your marketing and your vision for your business. And I'm of I'm in the position that I'm married. My wife and I have 4 kids, and I can't just go and flitter about and try different things if I don't know if it's going to work or not. I need to be very focused with my business. I need to be very focused with how I use my time. And if I was starting completely over from day one. I wouldn't go out and try to do all things. What happened with me when I quit Kinko's and I started shooting again, I was second shooting weddings with my friend Mark, and my sister-in-law invited me to speak at this mother's group that she was a part of, and I went and I gave a presentation about how to take better pictures of your kids. And I ended up booking a bunch of family portraits out of that group. And so I started shooting family portraits. And then I got a call one day to a friend of mine was in a band, and I shot his show. And then I photographed this girl named Megan Coffey. I photographed her press kit. She had seen the pictures I'd shot at my friend's show, and then what's a funny sidetrack is Megan Coffey is now Megan Arias. I married my first headshot client. Well, not headshot, but press kit client. Um, but that's a whole nother hour-long webinar right there. So I really enjoyed the music aspect, and I was really busy on the weekends and the evenings hanging out in municipal parks photographing families. And what I decided is I was going to start two websites. Um, One was for family portraits and one was for music photography. And a photographer named Mark Anderson, who I had assisted for a long time, and he was a mentor of mine. He had always told me, if you could ever be known for that one thing you do, you'll be very successful. He's like, most photographers just kind of do a whole bunch of things and they get along in life, and that's all fine, and that's kind of the majority of everything. But if you can ever find one thing and you do that one thing and you can become known for that one thing you do, you can find success in that. So I kind of, I was all in on this. I'm going all in on photography again. I just quit my day job. I've got to figure out what I'm doing. So I started two websites. One was family portraits, one was music photography. And I said, whichever one grows feet first, I'm going to just ditch the other one. And so had family portrait photography taken off for me before music photography did, I'd be sitting here today going, hey, I'm Zack Arias. I'm a family portrait photographer in Atlanta, Georgia. Um, but music took off, and I just dropped the wedding portrait site, completely took it down, got rid of it, killed it. I didn't want my name on it, and the only thing you could find on me online was my old domain, used film, and it said Zack Arias, Atlanta music photographer. And to be honest, it was scary because I felt like, well, I can do corporate events. I can still shoot family portraits. I can do, magazine assignments. There's a lot of photography I could do. But I decided I wanted to be very focused because the thing is, let's just take two of these. Let's take weddings and editorial. All right, weddings, you're talking to brides. Editorial, you're talking to photo editors. Those are two completely different types of clients to talk to. That's almost like speaking two different languages. An editorial client, a photo editor, they want to see one kind of photography. Brides, they want to see another kind of photography. And brides aren't going out looking for editorial photographers, and photo editors aren't going out looking for wedding photographers. And so suddenly you've got these two competing clients that don't have anything in common with each other. And then if you throw corporate photography into that, that's a whole nother kind of client who you need to speak a different language to, and they need to see a different kind of work. And a corporate photographer might hire an editorial photographer. A photo editor might hire a corporate photographer, but a bride is not looking for a corporate photographer. So when you wake up in the morning and you have a new business and you're trying to get started, who are you talking to? Who is your client? Is your client a bride today, or are they the marketing director at a corporation, or are they a photo editor at a magazine? Are they an architect? Are they a gallery owner and you want to show your fine art work too? And when you wake up and shower and shave and brush your teeth and head out the door, who the hell are you going to go talk to? Right? But if you wake up and you say, I am a corporate photographer, And then when you walk out the door, you know who your client is. Your clients are corporations. Your clients are head of PR. Your clients are head of marketing at these companies. And you can start knocking on doors and making phone calls and sending emails and mailers or whatever you need to do to go find decision makers at corporations to hire you to do corporate photography. And when you get up the next morning, guess who your client is? Corporations. And the next morning, corporations. Or if it's weddings or whatever. Now, if I was getting started today, we'll take a look at these, and I'm going to build a case study around one of these, and it's a case study. It's something that I do have some experience in, but it's basically I just want to give you some different things to think about. So as this webinar finishes and you grab a drink of your choice, you can kind of scratch your head and go, okay, if I looked at all of that, what would I do? All right. So I'm just, again, coming to you as this is what I would do. All right. Me personally, Zach, I'm not telling you that this is what you need to do, but maybe. Let's see. So weddings. All right. So weddings. What's the likelihood of me getting booked for a wedding next week? Pretty low, right? If I'm going to go into weddings, I've got to build a new business. I've got to start from scratch. If I got to go do weddings, I've got to be marketing and networking and looking for clients now who are going to hire me 6 months from now or a year from now. But like, I got to pay my rent now. I got to pay my rent today. I got bills due now. And the best I can hope for is someone hires me now and pays me a retainer, and maybe I can get half of the retainer now, and that's going to have to go towards bills. But what if I'm promising an album and I'm going to have to be out of pocket on that? Then by the time the wedding rolls around, then I'm already like money in expenses wise on that wedding. And then I get paid the rest of it at the wedding. But so now I got to take some of that money, but I'm going to need that money then too, right? So weddings are kind of a long-term sort of business plan. Weddings are you're at your day job and you're going to be at your day job, sorry to say, for the next year, 2 years, 3 years. Because what you've got to do is you've got to be long term. If you want to do weddings, that's a long term kind of client. Someone gets engaged today, they're getting married next year. They're looking for their vendors now. They're already online on their lunch break. Let's look at wedding photographers. They're not going to hire you today and pay you full price today. So, editorial. Editorial is a work that I do quite a bit of. I do a number of magazine assignments, and I love editorial work. One issue with editorials, it really doesn't pay anything. There's not a lot of money in editorial work. All right. So with editorial, unless you're just A, at the top of the food chain, and B, really, really busy, like you're doing, you're stacking up 4 or 5 assignments a week consistently every week, all the time. With editorial, you're typically kind of mixing editorial in with other things. I have a commercial client I do regular work for. I get some corporate work that typically pays better than editorial. I enjoy editorial. I love shooting editorial, but it just doesn't pay well. But the thing with editorial, it's a long-term kind of client. I can't hit the streets today and have editorial work tomorrow. If I hit the streets today and I go out and I go to meetings and I show my portfolio and I meet people and I shake hands, then I need to follow up with them in a month. And then I need to follow up with them again. And I need to be working on my portfolio and I need to get some new material together. And then I need to send them a mailer. And then I need to kind of call on them in 6 months. And, whenever their regular photographer in my area finally keels over, maybe I'm the next guy to call. All right. So editorial is the kind of thing you're going to do at least a year of marketing yourself to photo editors and photography directors at magazines and publications. You need to just plan on I will be marketing for 1 year before I see any return. You have to be patient. I know a lot of us look out into the world and we see, these young photographers that just seem to have like fallen out of bed and into a great career. Um, You look at someone. I hear a lot of people complain about Joey L. All right, the young gun from Canada who started shooting commercially at 16, right? And he's shooting a Jaeger campaign before he can legally drink the stuff that he's shooting for. And we all want to look at him and go, oh, he had it easy. He was young. It was this. It was that. Like, why can't I have it that easy? Um, the Joeys of our industry are 0.05%. Everybody else is busting their ass. And I will tell you, I know Joey personally, and I bust his chops all the time, but I don't know anyone who works as hard as Joey does. All right, he is one of the hardest working photographers I've ever met. He is got laser beam vision on what he's trying to do. It really helps that he's young. It helps that he's not married. It helps that he has no kids. He can hop on an airplane at a moment's notice. That is a huge help, all right, for him. I know a lot of people look up to certain folks in this industry, and if you're married and have children, that's a lot of responsibility on you, and you can't be that young, hip, single, no kids photographer, right? And you see that, wow, they just seem to like bloom from nowhere and suddenly have this great career and this amazing blog and all these people follow them on Twitter and blah 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 blah. And you're sitting there struggling and you've only had 3 hits to your website in a month and that's all been you. um, you cannot compare yourself to other photographers here. You can't. You have to be ready that this is a long haul, that you have to be patient. You have to say, I'm going to start a marketing campaign now, and I hope that I'll start to reap some benefit from it a year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now. I'm going to be consistent. I'm going to keep making phone calls. I'm going to keep sending mailers. I'm going to keep putting myself out there over and over and over again until it starts to pay off. And for me in my life, that is what I have found has been successful. All right. So, weddings, editorial, these are all sort of long term kind of things. Advertising is long term. If you want to go bust into the advertising world and like really be serious advertising photographer, you're talking about long term relationships that you need to begin building. You're talking about spending thousands upon thousands of dollars on promotional materials and your portfolio and all of that. That's for the big boys. You're just getting started. You're kind of hanging out in some of these other areas. All right. So you could do landscapes. Last I checked, a mountain range doesn't pay for a family portrait, right? Like, I'm not going to get hired by the mountains to go take a picture of them. The only people who pay money for pictures are people. And that's not a slight to landscape photographers. I'm not a landscape photographer. I don't understand getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning to take pictures. I do understand staying up until 4 o'clock in the morning to take pictures, but landscapes and nature photography, as beautiful as that can be, um, I don't know where I'd go make money with it, unless someone at Marriott and they're going to buy 1,500 prints for a couple of their hotels or something like that. But then again, that's all about networks and relationships that take time to build. I guess there's art fairs and you make some prints. And if I had to start over today, there's no way I'm going to try to do it as a nature photographer. There are people who make money as nature photographers. I don't know how they do it. They are gods and they walk amongst us. All right. Um, I personally would look at headshots. Headshots. If it all went to hell on me and I had to build again from nothing, I would go to headshots. I believe there's gold in them thar hills right there in headshots. And this is the case study that I built for myself, and I actually started the process of building a headshot company um, until I realized from a very sage woman, a very wise woman, my wife, Megan, who sat me down one day and just said, is that really what you want to do? Wouldn't you rather do editorial and that kind of thing? Well, yeah, I'd rather do that. Well, why aren't you going after that instead of headshots? Well, I don't know. And then with that one conversation, I dropped headshots, went straight to editorial, and started building that part of my business. Because really, when I got honest with myself, that's really what I wanted to do more. But if I had to start over, I would go straight back to headshots. Here's why: somebody today needs a headshot, and somebody tomorrow needs a headshot. And somebody is like, "Ooh, I need to get a headshot. Let me see if I can book one for next week." Not 6 months from now, not 12 months from now. A local actor, actress isn't, they don't have like a roster of photographers they're always going to, and maybe they'll try you out in a year or so. They're usually looking around, and maybe they, go to one person in your town, and but maybe they've gotten their last three headshots from that person who is a established headshot photographer in your town, and maybe they want to try somebody new and get something a little different. um, that happens a lot. Sometimes I've met people who, there's kind of three main headshot photographers in town, and they just like go on a cycle. Like, I'll go to John, and then I'll go to Susan, and then I'll go to Tim, and then I'll go to John, and then I'll go to Susan, and then I'll go to Tim. And they just kind of cycle through. And the beauty with headshots is, especially in the acting world, somebody has a beard, gets their headshot, that's their headshot for a while, then they shave their beard. Well, now that their beard is gone, they need a new headshot. Someone was a blonde, now they're a brunette, they need a new headshot. But, there are more people who need headshots. There are business owners who need headshots. All right. There are companies who need headshots of their employees. Um, someone is going and giving a talk at a business conference, and the business conference people said, "Hey, we need a headshot. You need to send a picture in." And they go, "Oh my God, I only have something shot with my iPhone. I need to find a headshot photographer." And you can be that headshot photographer. All right. Headshot photography doesn't require a whole ton of gear. All right. You can do headshots with window light and a reflector and an 85 millimeter lens. Done. You can be shooting headshots. You can shoot simple portraiture with simple equipment. All right. Headshots, are not massive advertising shoots. It's a camera, it's a lens, it's some decent light and a reflector, and you're done. And someone needs one today, and someone needs one tomorrow. And people value headshots. They take value in that. They say, a headshot is going to cost me 200, 300, $400. All right. There's a decent clip that you can make shooting headshots. All right. So I would go after headshots. Someone needs it right now. Why? Because I need the money right now. All right. I don't need the money in 6 months. I need the money in 6 hours, kind of thing. When you're just getting started and you're scrapping for every job that you can get, and you've got to like get every little piece together to pay your bills at the end of the month, um, you need people paying you right now on the spot, handing you money so you can get your bills paid. And I would go to headshots. That's what I would start with. All right. So you'll shoot your friends, right? Like, let's say you want to become a fashion photographer, and I have a whole rant I can go on about people trying to become a fashion photographer. And I won't go on that rant. But you can shoot your friends. Who needs headshots? Average, normal, everyday Joe and Schmo. Not every actor is Brad Pitt. Not every actress is, Jolie. It's if you go to a local theater production, that's your friends and your family and your neighbors up there on stage doing their thing, right? And they need a headshot. So you can shoot friends headshots to build your first portfolio. All right. I would find a referral base. All right. Now, when you find your niche, I'm talking about finding your client base. All right. Um, when I started shooting bands in Atlanta, I decided I wanted to shoot press kit and promo pictures for bands in Atlanta, because bands in Atlanta had horrible, horrible, horrible press kit photos. They were just horrible. They were bad. They were every horrible douchebag photo you've ever seen of a band. Brick walls and train tracks, and singer songwriter walking down a lonely road holding their guitar case, looking over their shoulder. That was awesome in like '73 when Neil Young did it, and now it sucks and it's stupid. And you should never do that again. These were all the pictures, and it was their art school girlfriend, and it was on camera flash, and it was 2 o'clock in the afternoon, full sun, or it was just bad, and I wanted to shoot better pictures. All right. Well, I went out looking for bands and marketing directly to bands, and that's a lot of hard work. You're trying basically to go out and find apples just randomly out in the field. What you need to do is find an apple tree. All right. I was going around trying to find bands, and somewhere I'd gotten word of this organization called the 730 Club, and they met once a month here in Atlanta, and it was for behind the scenes music industry people only. Musicians couldn't come, bands couldn't show up, none of that. Just anyone who worked behind the scenes in the music industry in Atlanta. They met once a month at this bar, and they just go around the room, introduce themselves, talk about what they're working on, and it was just a time to network and meet other people and help each other out with work. And when I went there and started to get to know people there, instead of going out and looking for one band, I would meet someone who managed 10 bands. So my time spent going out and trying to meet people, I can try to go find 10 bands on my own, or I can try to go find that guy that knows 10 bands. And if I can become friends with the guy that knows 10 bands, and I can become friends with 10 of those guys, I now have connections to 100 bands. Instead of trying to randomly find apples thrown through the field, I'm going to go and find the apple tree and work that instead. So find your referral base. And with headshots, it's easy. All right. It's there's John Smith's acting school in your town, and you call up John Smith, runs the acting school, and you say, "Hey, my name is Zach, or whatever your name is, and I'm a new photographer here in town. I'm building a headshot portfolio right now. I'd love to take you out to lunch or buy you a cup of coffee or something. I'd love to show you my work, and I'd really like to just pick your brain a little bit about headshots, and what works for you. What do you look for in a headshot? What do you not like when you see headshots? I want to make sure that I really do it right in this town, and I want to do a really great job for the people in my local industry, and I don't want to be falling into any traps that you may see. And so could I take you to lunch, right? And then I would offer to shoot for free. Now, this is one where sometimes people troll me. Oh, you should never shoot for free. What we do has value, blah, 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 blah. But look, we all have to start somewhere, right? You can't be a wedding photographer you buy a digital Rebel and a kit lens and say, I want to be a wedding photographer. And the next day you put a $5,000 price tag on your wedding services, right? No, because you suck. Like you're still a new photographer and you have a lot to learn. You're not worth $5,000 or $10,000 yet. You're worth free. That's what you're worth. You're worth free. Or if you're a nobody and no name and no one knows anything about you in your town and you have a basic portfolio, basic shot of your friends and family, you're free. You're worth free. You haven't built value yet, right? So I would shoot for free. So I would take this John Smith acting school guy to lunch, or buy him a cup of coffee or a beer or whatever. And I'd say, you know what I'd love to do is send me 5 people. All right. Number one, if you're going to shoot for free, you limit how many shoots you're going to do. All right. Second, you put a time frame on it. I'll shoot 5 people's headshots for free in the next 30 days. Not whenever. Oh, just, send me some people. Yeah, just whenever. Well, then you might get a phone call, excuse me, 6 months from now. And 6 months from now, you're either charging money and you can't afford to do free shoots anymore, or 6 months from now, you might be back at your day job and you hung it all up. And so if there's all these open-ended, free, anytime, any amount, it's just going to come back and bite you. So recognize how many you would want to do and put a time limit on it. And don't just give free to anybody. What I found in my research in the music industry, and a lot of people, including myself, thought I was crazy for wanting to shoot local bands in Atlanta for money because, right, local bands, local musicians, they're all broke. They don't have any money. But what I did is I did my research. If you go back to that slide I had, find your niche, research, research, research. I would go to a local show. I'd be standing back by the bar. I'd be having a beer. I'd be watching this local band play. And this guy is on stage wailing on some guitar. And I'd go talk to him as he was packing up for the night. And I was like, man, that's a beautiful guitar you have. What is that? And he'd start going off about this 1972 Gibson Les Paul something something special edition. And I would just kind of take mental notes or jot something down after I was done talking to him. And then I'd look online, and that's a $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 guitar. And I've joked about this many times, but it's the honest to God truth is I've met drummers putting $5,000 drum sets into $500 cars. And I've stood in the back of local shows of a local band with like 3 people in attendance. And between all of the amps and the heads and the guitars and the drum kit and then the merch table, hey, buy our t-shirt, we got CDs. You know how much money it costs to print t-shirts? You know how much money it costs to print CDs? We got stickers. All right, there's $300 right there. Suddenly, when you add up all their equipment, all their effects pedals, all their stuff, all their cases, all their merchandise, you could have a local band standing on stage playing to 3 people, and they got $30,000, $40,000 worth of stuff. That's a lot of money. Why are local bands broke? It's because they spend thousands upon thousands upon thousands of dollars of money on their music, right? If I could just convince them to pay me a couple $100 for a promo shoot, then I think I could get something started here. And that was my thinking, right? Um, the same goes for photographers. How many broke photographers do you know? And you're right now raising your hand. But how many broke photographers do you know who have the 5D Mark III and the 85 1.2 and a new MacBook Pro? And they're crying that they're broke and they're coming to your house hoping to find some food, but they have a new $2,000 lens, right? I don't have any money, but I have $5,000 in camera equipment hanging off my neck at the moment. We spend money on what we value. And what you have to do as a photographer is build value for your work. I know we're in an age where everyone is like, everybody's a photographer and everyone's shooting for free and they're all killing us and yeah, everyone's a photographer. Well, the market's oversaturated. Well, you're one of the people oversaturating the market. Don't ever complain about the oversaturation of the photography market, because if you're a photographer, guess what? You're part of the oversaturation. All right. You have to build value for what you do, how you do it, how you serve your clients, the type of work you create, the experience that you give. All of that is important. So I would shoot for free, and I would not just shoot anyone for free. When I was shooting bands, I found 10 bands. I offered them a free shoot in the next 30 days. And through my research, I only offered it to bands who were playing a Thursday through Saturday night time slot at a local venue. If you were playing Tuesday at 4 o'clock at Bob's Wing Shack, I was not offering it to you. You had to have merchandise. You had to have T-shirts and you had to have CDs, and you had to be playing at least like 2 shows a month. Because what that told me was that was my kind of client. My kind of client was putting money into their music. They were getting pretty decent slots between Thursday and Saturday night here in Atlanta. And they were out enough in the music industry that it's a really friendly music industry here in town. So everybody's band goes and hangs out and sees everybody else's band. So if I could get in with those kind of bands, then they have people watching them who are in other bands. And I need them to see what I'm going to create for their friend's band, right? So John Smith Acting School needs to see the headshots I'll create so that when people come to his acting school, I'm the guy who took him out to lunch. I'm the guy who wants to serve him well. I'm the guy that gave 5 of his clients free headshot sessions. I'm the guy that's going to get his referrals. That's what I want. I want my referral base. All right. And I'm going to get involved. If I'm going to shoot headshots for the local acting community, then I'm going to find a local theater, and they typically have volunteer positions. Hey, volunteer at the snack bar on Friday nights. I'm going to give one Friday night a month, and I'm going to go volunteer. And I'm not going to be a smarmy, salesman jerk about it. I'm not going to be walking in the door going, "Hey, I'm Zach. I'm a headshot photographer. Here's my card." I'm going to be Zach, and I'm a guy. I support theater, and I'm going to work the snack bar, and I'm going to do a really great job working the snack bar. And I'm just going to make friends without selling people. And when people say, "What do you do?" "Oh, I'm a photographer." "Oh, are you?" "Yeah, yeah, I'm a photographer and I shoot stuff here in town, portraits and headshots, stuff like that." I'm not going to push it. I want to make relationships. Making relationships is far more important than making a logo. All right. As you're getting started, excuse me, don't put thousands of dollars into your branding, because honestly, you're not a brand yet. You don't have a brand. You don't have a brand that you have to defend. You don't have a brand you have to support. You are no name, young gun, emerging photographer that has to just get out there and meet people and hustle. Hustle, 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 hustle. If you're sitting around playing Xbox wondering why your photography business sucks, it's because you're sitting around playing Xbox. Get off Xbox, get off the internet, get off the damn photography forums. If you have like 18,000 posts on a forum that you are a regular on, you have said everything you could possibly need to say. Get off of the forum, like have someone change your password so you can't ever log back on again, and go and work and shoot new work, create new pictures, be building your portfolio, and go out there and meet people and shake their hand and introduce who you are and tell them what you do and hand them a business card and drive traffic to your site. The very best SEO that you can do is not do SEO. The best thing you can do is go out and meet people, get involved in your community, meet people, and you drive people to your site and not Google. That stuff will come, but you've got to hit like the 5 year mark first. You've got to work your ass off for 5 years before you get to stop and take a breather. It's just, it's kind of how it is. It's how it's been for me, and it's how it is for countless, countless, countless number of people I know in this industry. Through events like this and speaking and teaching and stuff like that, I've gotten to meet just thousands of photographers, and all the ones who have successful businesses, who are doing it and paying for their families and taking care of their kids and doing all of that with a camera. It's just a lot of hard work, a lot of hustling, and being focused in on it, having a vision for it, and just doing it every day. And if there's stuff that's taking you away from that, and I don't mean like kids and things, but Xbox and photography forums and Facebook and just hanging around being stupid and watching television all the time, um, that's not ever going to grow your business right now. So Andrew, if you are tuned in, I am picking up my beer. Um,
I am tuned in.
and I'm up for Q&A. My presentation went longer than I thought it would.
Well, you joked about not knowing how long it would last, and it lasted exactly 59 minutes. So
Great, we have
I think there's some
65.
hidden talent in there. Well, it's interesting. We had a lot of great questions coming in, and many of them you answered as you moved along. I'm going to throw two at you. One was, is there any marketing that you would suggest paying for at the beginning?
Hmm. Um, no, there really isn't. Not at the beginning. Um, unless unless you specifically knew you were going into editorial advertising, then I would be putting money into some service like AdBase,
Mhm.
that is a big list of art directors, creative directors, photo editors, so on and so forth. That's a huge list. That's such hard work for you to go and make your own list of people to call on when you can pay $100 or something dollars a month and get access to an already built and verified list. But as far as like, I wouldn't put any money in Facebook ads. I wouldn't put any money in Google clicks. I wouldn't take out an ad in any local magazine or newspaper. I you know, advertising, if you're going to put like print ad out, that is just there to reinforce your brand. You
Mhm.
can't put an ad out and then go, okay, no one's calling. Why isn't anyone calling? Because think about it, when you pick something up, how much time do you just thoughtfully and carefully read all the advertisements? You don't.
Yep. Yep.
But you're hoping to get like 1,000 impressions on somebody that over time they go, I remember seeing that there was a photographer in town here. Where did I see that? You know, kind of a thing.
Yeah, it's a consistency of hammering away at all of the other things that might impact your brand.
Right.
Um, and so that kind of leads to the next question, and you kind of touched on it a little bit regarding hustle because I think I know what the answer is going to be, but how do you, I guess I would say, how do you in the beginning and how do you now balance marketing and self-promotion to gather new clients with the the ongoing task of fulfilling your responsibilities to your existing clients?
Right. That has been a very tough thing for me to figure out. Um, I would say I'm kind of at a point where I have enough work coming in right now that I'm not doing a lot of new marketing, but I know that that's going to burn me here soon. So I'm trying to hustle and get new promos together and put a new print book together. Um, and then an important thing that's happened, and I've had a few key people kind of come in to my life and help me. What I learned, especially at about the 5 year mark, was I can't do it all myself, and I need help. I was trying to do it all myself. Everything I was doing, all my own post production. I was doing all my own marketing. I had to go to every event on my own. I had to make all the phone calls and make the lists and do the invoicing and talk to the accountant and there were a few things I was good at, and then I sucked at the rest of it, and the rest of it held me down and stressed me out, and so I had to get my pricing to a point that I could start to hire people, and I'm not talking like full time employee, but you could start to pay other people to handle things. You could pay a bookkeeper to do stuff. I had someone come on and start to kind of manage my business and take over the booking and scheduling and calendar. And they became the first person to contact. I'm bad at communication. I'm bad at like staying on top of all that stuff. So now someone who's good at communication and good at staying on top of it, somebody emails, go, hey, we're interested in a photo shoot. That person takes over. Right now, I have a girl named Lonnie who works with me. She's awesome. Before that was Sherry. Before that was a guy named Michael Weeman. And these folks have helped my business grow. And what will happen is there may be an event coming up that I can't go to, whether I got a family obligation or I'm busy with work or I'm traveling, but I can send Lonnie to that event and she can kind of go there as my representative. I'm also with Wonderful Machine, and they are wonderful, absolutely. They can help put bids together for me. They can help me build lists when I'm marketing and promoting. They have this great a la carte kind of system. So I'm actually, what's funny is I'm giving this talk from doing this for 10 years, but I'm starting a new business right now. We're about to flip the switch here in the next 30 days on a new business. Um, and Wonderful Machine is going to be taking over the basically like the first 6 months of marketing. I'm just handing it to another person. Here's this thing, go market it. Um, because I'm busy with all this other stuff going on. So I would say, really to come back to answer that question is you've got to build your pricing to the point where you can start to hire people to help you because you can't do it all on your own.
I think that's fabulous advice for any entrepreneur, really, learning how to delegate and hand off the things that aren't within the core.
Yeah, my first intern, Eric Dixon, he came to intern for a summer, and the first month and a half of his internship, he's just watched me, and I moved all the light stands, I did all the stuff, and at one point, he finally just like, dude, I'm here to like do something, like let me move a light stand, like, and it wasn't I mean, I'm kind of a control freak, but it's just I was so used to just doing everything by myself. I didn't know how to ask for help. I didn't know, and once I learned it, it's
Mhm.
been great. I'm at the beach every day. No, I'm not. I'm not at the beach at all today. One day.
Okay, if you don't mind, I don't think anybody's going to be upset, but I'm going to send one more question your way,
Sure.
which relates to the pricing of the equipment and the computer. One thing that a number of people wanted to know was what additional software would you buy or potentially borrow even for your computer?
Oh, that's a good one. I would not borrow. I would not steal. I would not download a cracked version of anything because here's karma's a bitch, and I want people to respect my ownership and my copyright of my images. And I've seen the light in the last 15 years of my life and said, you know what, I am going to therefore buy all my software, which sucks a lot of times because you're paying a lot of money. So what I would do is I would have Adobe Lightroom. Excuse me. You can sometimes find it on sale. Sometimes it goes on sale, but I would have Adobe Lightroom, and then I would have Photoshop Elements. You can get Elements for like 79 bucks. Sometimes they throw Elements in with like a printer. You can buy a printer and get Adobe Elements for free. And Adobe Elements, that's what I have on my home computer, because put a computer at the house, and I'm not going to spend, however much money on a whole Adobe Creative Suite. So I got Adobe Elements, and excuse me, I swear it does 90% of everything I need to do in Photoshop, and it costs like 79 bucks. And so yeah, Lightroom and Adobe Photoshop Elements, and you're good. You're set.
Excellent. Okay, well, I think we've taken up enough of your time for this Friday afternoon. I'm sure your family is eager to get the weekend started too, and I know mine is.
Yep.
So I just want to thank you again for your time. It's been incredibly generous of you, and thank
Well,
you
thank
for
you, Andrew.
also participating in the Jumpstart contest. I know someone is going to be excited to have um, a couple hours of your time to help guide them through the year.
Yeah, that's going to be fun. Like, I think I'm going to throw my hat in the rig there because it's like, oh, I want to talk to them for a couple hours.
David
Yeah.
Hobby.
Yeah. Oh no,
Okay,
not David
great.
Hobby. Nobody who wants to talk to that guy. No. No, if you want to talk about a smart businessman, holy crap, David Hobby.
I agree 100%.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Zach, and we'll be talking soon.
Thank you, Andrew, and thank you everyone at PhotoShelter. Please tell everyone up there I said hello.
Will do.
All right.
Okay,
Over
bye
and
bye.
out. Bye.